¿A dónde está papi? 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 ¿A dónde está papi?
Welcome to the Wednesday stream. I hope everyone's having an awesome Wednesday. Welcome, Alio, Michael Hassler. How's it going, everybody? So, not to state the obvious, but we did not see any big news today. It looks like the grand jury did not meet today. So we will see what happens next week, I guess. Insider reports that the Manhattan grand jury has been called off for today. Yep, yeah, we're gonna go over that. Who knows? Who knows when the day will come? When the day will actually happen? A desperate Tucker demanded President Biden put a stop to Trump's criminal indictment for the sake of the country. He can't really do that. President Biden has no power over any of that. I don't have popcorn, but I do have potato chips. Breaking Disney boldly fights. Okay, so there's nothing bold about a company having like a second to be moderately correct in this one point in time, even though Disney has been like a massive funder of the Republican Party, because the Republican Party has allowed them to essentially effectively run a company town. So I don't know about boldly. I mean, whatever. So, with regards to the Trump indictment, potential indictment, we might not see anything until next week. If it is going to happen, it's probably gonna happen next week. All right, folks. We've got a few things to go through. Maybe I should get the climate recap ready. Oh yeah, here we are.
How do we
All right, so we'll get that ready, and we'll start with this one.
Very increased complexity.
Yeah, you have complexity, but you have money for stock buybacks by the billions, and you guys became billionaires. That doesn't seem too complex to me.
Senator Bernie Sanders
Jesus.
put Moderna CEO Stefan Bancel on the hot seat today over his planned price hike of the COVID-19 vaccine. So Moderna is planning to quadruple the price of their vaccine, despite the fact that their vaccine was created in collaboration with the U.S. government under Operation Warp Speed. So I'm going to have 3 clips to share with you. And near the end of the video, I have a very specific criticism that I have not seen anyone else make. And it's one that I think should be discussed a lot more going up to the election in 2024. But first here, let me start with the first clip, which is going to feature Bernie Sanders and the CEO. He introed the live stream here on Twitter by saying taxpayers spent billions to develop a COVID vaccine. Moderna is thanking them by quadrupling the price of the shot. That is unacceptable corporate greed. Moderna CEO is testifying now in front of the HELP committee, which, by the way, is health, education, labor, and pensions. So here is the first clip.
We have no transparency in pricing. It is a totally insane situation. Everybody pays a different price. The United States government helped you develop that vaccine. It is a huge consumer. Are you prepared to substantially charge less for the vaccine to the United States government and our agencies?
Given the situation at hand, Mr. Chairman, we have no idea of the volume that we need this year. We have very increased complexity.
Yeah, you have complexity,
What a
but you have
Weasley
money
little
for
liar.
stock buybacks by the billions, and you guys became billionaires. That doesn't seem too complex to me. Let me ask you this question at
Completely didn't answer the question, by the way.
least. The United States pays, the people in our country pay the highest prices in the world for prescription drugs in general, something this committee will work on. Will you at least tell us today that the price you are charging for the vaccine will be lower than what other countries around the world are paying? Or once again, we're going to pay the highest prices?
So, Mr. Chairman, the price will depend on the value in each country. The cost of healthcare is different in each
Now,
country.
that's not the answer. That's a whole
Why?
part. I'm asking you a simple question. Your vaccine was developed with the help of the United States government. I am asking you whether or not we're going to continue to pay the highest prices in the world for that vaccine. I understand everything is complex, but I also understand you have money for stock buybacks and exorbitant compensation packages for yourself. Will you at least tell the taxpayers of this country that the price we pay for the vaccine will be less than other countries?
I cannot say that the price will be lower than other countries.
All right, so I got a few things to comment on here, and of course I'll get to 2 more clips. But the first thing that, I'm laughing watching that clip because there's a point where the CEO gives his BS answer, and then Bernie interjects to say that's a whole, and he cuts himself off, but he wants to say that's a whole lot of BS. But he controls himself there, even though I don't think he needs to. He should let loose sometimes. But so a couple of things. On the stock buybacks, we're going to get to more details in the next clip, which goes over just how Moderna as a company, how much help they received from the U.S. government and what they are doing with all their money now. So wait for that in the next clip. But on the CEO not committing to lowering the price in America, of course, why would he? This is where the guardrail, America is the place where corporations go to make the most amount of money possible because the guardrails are completely off. There are very little restrictions on massive corporations in the U.S. compared to other countries. He has no incentive to put people over profit. The only way to control these companies is by having proper regulations in place. So even, apart from anything else, it's worth noting here that you can't shame these people into doing the right thing. You have to make it illegal for them to do what they are doing now, and only make it possible for them to make as much to make the money that they do make under certain restrictions that still ensure that people are able to get the medicine they need. And even apart from all that, healthcare should not. The profit motive should be completely out of healthcare. I mean, that's again kind of a separate discussion, even though not really. It is part of the discussion. But the idea that there is a billionaire now because of a vaccine, does he deserve to have do the people that made these vaccines, do they deserve to have a good life? Of course. Do they need billions of dollars while people can't afford the medicine that they created? No, that doesn't make any sense. And I hope we can all agree on that. But before I get to the next clip.
Meet 3 people who took control of their
Hey.
money with a Chase Secure banking account. No minimum deposit to open?
Stop it. Hello? There we go.
A bit of the information around how much help Moderna got from the U.S. government. So this article from healthaffairs.org, where they're arguing that President Biden already has the COVID vaccine recipe and he should share it. So from their perspective, he already has the ability to do this. But they write here, how did the HHS, the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, come to hold vital information on Moderna's vaccine recipe and the legal right to share it? HHS invested more than $1 billion in the development of Moderna, quote-unquote, vaccine, and its scientists were involved at every step of the way. One of HHS's constituent agencies, the National Institutes of Health, NIH, co-invented the vaccine with Moderna. HHS paid for...
I'm doing all right. I bought Bernie's book, It's Okay to Be Angry with Capitalism. I mean, yeah, I think it's a little bit... I think it's further than that. It's not just like being angry. It's just like something is fundamentally not working here. Something is fundamentally not working here and it needs to be addressed. Do doctors and nurses need a living wage? Yeah, of course. Everybody needs every worker needs a living wage. I mean, that should be like the most basic the most basic threshold. Everybody deserves a living wage. Doesn't matter what they do. The whole point of, at least on paper, is that if I work a job, the point of doing that is so that I can live. If I can't pay for food, housing, necessities, everything that I need to live, then what is the point?
For all and ran many of the clinical trials that proved the vaccine is safe and effective. The HHS funded Moderna's scale up and scale out of manufacturing. As Monsef Slaoui, former head of Operation Warp Speed, said last year, HHS held Moderna by the hand on a daily basis throughout the entire process. And now Moderna turns around and wants to quadruple the price of the vaccine. Again, because they can. Which we'll get to at the end. My criticism that has not been, as far as I've seen, has not been mentioned by anyone else. But let me get to the next clip here. So this is going to be let's see him here. Here he is. Dr. Christopher Morton. So he is a Columbia Law School professor trained as an organic chemist and a leading voice on equitable access to medicine. And he was one of the witnesses here during this hearing.
Moderna has proposed massive price increases from $20 or $30 a dose to $110 or even $130, though each dose costs less than $3 to make. Higher prices mean higher insurance costs, including higher Medicare premiums. It was the US government, the American taxpayer, that spent billions. It was government scientists that toiled alongside Moderna's. We designed and ran Moderna's early clinical trials. We gave Moderna money and resources to expand its manufacturing. The National Institutes of Health was so integral that it aptly named the vaccine the NIH Moderna vaccine, built on over a decade of pioneering research into coronaviruses at NIH. To justify price increases, Moderna also points to $4.5 billion in R&D commitments this year. But $4.5 billion is easily doable for this company. In 2021 and 22, Moderna made over $20 billion in profits. The company has been so spectacularly successful that many of its executives and early investors became billionaires, including Mr. Bancel. As I speak right now, Mr. Bancel's net worth is reportedly about $4.7 billion.
Jesus. And that's the other bad side of the coin. The US and UK, you have to be disabled or you are a lazy person. I mean, that's capitalism. I'm not sure. It's capitalism. You basically, under capitalism, your value is how much is your body. So capitalism essentially says that you have no value if you are disabled because you can't produce. So yeah, it's a very cruel system.
Meaning he might be rich enough to fund Moderna's entire 2023 R&D expenditure out of his own pocket. In 2022, Moderna spent $3.3 billion on stock buybacks to enrich Mr. Bancel and other shareholders. That's as much as the company spent on R&D last year.
All right, so a lot of information there to help you understand just how much help they got from the U.S. government to develop this vaccine. And also, I mean, the big giveaway there is they spent as much on stock buybacks to enrich their own shareholders. That is the only benefit for them. The only reason to do a stock buyback is to enrich your own shareholders. They did that. They spent as much on that as they did on research and development. Like, this is, and by the way, I watched a lot of this hearing. Some of the Republican senators, like the defense they had of Moderna and this corporate greed, this big pharma greed, is just incredible. And most of their supporters are not going to see it. They don't watch this. Most people don't watch this stuff. But, you know, if there was enough interest, I would do a separate video on all that crap, because it just seeing people like Mitt Romney and everyone else up there on the right, they defend this amount of greed by saying, well, they've earned it. They put this investment in, even though the U.S. government, again, held their hand throughout the entire process of making the vaccine. They put this investment in and they made this vaccine. And now, because interest is waning a little bit into the vaccines, or it's not as big of an issue as it once was, now is the time for them to strike and make their money. Let me show you how the media reports on Moderna's sliding profits. All right, that's how they're framing this now. So this is a recent headline. Just
Moderna's sliding profits?
Vaccine sales, new costs, squeeze. Moderna fourth quarter profits. Oh, Moderna's being squeezed, barely getting by. What are they making in profit? Like, I don't know, 50 grand? I mean, it's a big company, but they're barely getting by. Their profit fell to $1.46 billion. This is Moderna being squeezed. $1.46 billion in the final quarter of 2022.
Jesus.
How can you frame this as Moderna being squeezed? Being squeezed is like barely breaking even. 1.46 billion in profit is not being squeezed, especially when you spend, what was it, $3 billion on stock buybacks, as much as you spent on research and development. You can't then say they're being squeezed when they're putting their money into stock buybacks. And again, this is AP. This is not Fox News. This is the straight news agency, AP News. Let me get to the last clip here.
Humana presents 3 questions you should ask when looking for a Medicare plan. Is your
Specific criticism that I have not seen addressed. But here is Bernie making a very important point.
Jonas Salk, you're familiar with Jonas Salk, invented polio. Did not make billions for his invention. In fact, he gave it away. And he said, I'm so proud to have created this vaccine to save lives. Alexander Fleming developed penicillin, a huge advance for medicine, saved, millions of lives? Frederick Banting sold his intellectual property for $1 for insulin. All right. What do you think about those guys and those scientists who said, you know what? Our function in life is to create wonderful drugs that will ease human suffering and save lives, not to become excessively rich. Do you think they were crazy?
I think what they did was very noble. I think what we have to do is to invest in the technology. If we didn't have a technology when the pandemic happened,
So you're saying that you aren't noble. That's basically what you're saying.
there would have been no Moderna vaccine, Mr. Chairman.
Look, we all agree that we need the technology, but what I am asking you, and some of my friends here are saying, is that the only thing that motivates you is to become a billionaire.
That is not true.
All right, but then can we have a science where people get paid well? I have no problem with Moderna making money, but you're hearing here massive cash paybacks, you becoming a multi-billionaire. Should we develop a counterculture, perhaps, which says your motive is not just making billions, but developing all of the drugs we need for the terrible diseases that this world faces? You can come up with all the great drugs in the world, we appreciate that, but if people can't access them, or they go broke, or they go bankrupt having to buy them, it doesn't mean anything to those people. And certainly, by the way, we're talking about America, the wealthiest country on earth. What about Africa and poor people around the world? Should they die because they cannot afford that prescription drug?
All right, so I just want to point out that that entire section there is about 10 minutes long, and it's a fantastic watch. I had, while watching this, I was recording the screen and got like 40 minutes of video, and I had to figure out how to cut this down into a proper explanation of the entire thing. There's a lot of good stuff on the cutting room floor. I will link to the Yahoo News feed, since that one is still up. You can watch. Most of you aren't going to do this, but if you want to watch, 3 hours of this, you can go watch that. It's, again, good moments there. At least check out the Bernie Sanders portions if you want. Really good stuff. But this is my criticism that I have not seen anyone else address. All right? It has to do with the Operation Warp Speed contracts. This is what helped Moderna make this vaccine, this investment, this collaboration with the U.S. government. Why? And by the way, this is under the Trump administration, so Trump did this. Why was it not written to the contract that, hey, we are putting this massive investment into these vaccines, the U.S. government should own these vaccines, at least be co-owners, be able to control what happens with this technology, with these patents.
Right, they should be able to. Companies cannot give away free items maybe once a year. No, it's if a company's item is so necessary to life, if a company's item is so necessary to life, maybe it shouldn't be in private hands. I'm just saying.
So this is a very, I think, not only accurate, but effective criticism of Trump. Because, Trump, again, assuming he wins the general, and I think, not the general, assuming he wins the primary, and I think he will, if he's not, behind bars, and I don't think he will be. But at some point, when trying to, appeal to a large swath of voters, I'm sure he's going to mention how, we had Operation Warp Speed and we made these vaccines. The correct retort to that is, yeah, and you gave them all away. allowing these massive corporations like Moderna to just squeeze the American people by quadrupling the price of the vaccine. There has to be a criticism there, because ultimately this is the problem, is the lack of government control, the lack of regulation. This is the issue. Again, you're not going to shame these people into doing the right thing. There has to be proper controls over how their business operates. If you're going to put billions of dollars into this, the U.S. government has to be able to benefit. U.S. taxpayers have to be able to benefit, not just from the vaccine itself, but be able to actually get the vaccine once it's under the control of a company like Moderna, who wants to quadruple the price. Again, a larger critique here is that the profit motive should be completely out of the healthcare system, and that is something that is more of, I think, a long-term goal for most people. But at the very least, if you're going to do a contract like this, or at least operate within this system that currently operates, there has to be more control over these massive corporations by the U.S. government.
Yeah, that's not gonna happen. I mean, like, he's right in the sense that, like, you can't shame these people into doing the right thing. I mean, the company, the railroad company, that was involved with the Ohio derailment, was also funding a lobby group that was lobbying against regulations after this incident, after that big incident. So you can't really hope that these people will do the right thing. It's got to be written into regulation, or you know what? At this point, like, something so important as like healthcare, shouldn't be in private hands anyways. Something like healthcare shouldn't be in private hands anyways. Something is so crucial as like working rail lines, railroads, shouldn't be in private hands. I mean, it's just that simple.
Compounding atmospheric river events. I feel like I just covered the compounding atmospheric river events in California, but here we are again. I've lost count of how many we've had at this point.
Almost a dozen by now. Almost a dozen at this point, I think.
I think we're on our fourth. We're in the middle of another one that's shorter but more intense. So intense that the wind ahead of the storm blew out power to thousands of residents in the Bay Area, including my grandparents, for several days. It cut off my Tuesday Twitch stream in the middle of its session because I was in the Bay Area for it. By the way, follow me on Twitch at the Beckosphere if you want to see me cover climate news live. Most of this script was done in Bay Area coffee shops, which are crowded right now because many people's power has been out for several days. Deja vu, because last week my parents in Central California were out of power for 4 days. While we're getting the power outages, for the most part, my family's avoided the flooding again, which has ravaged many urban spaces across the state.
Yes, it's very, very bad.
I mean, I love the rain, but geez.
Yeah. Trump gave a huge tax cut to corporations. Did he say Republicans are not compassionate? I mean, Republicans are not compassionate because they don't give a shit. But that's by nature. That's like the nature of like conservatism. So I'm not sure what that's in reference to. But yes, Trump gave massive tax cuts. But yeah, with regards to the vaccine, what David was saying is that Trump gave all these resources. Trump gave all these resources to this corporation and essentially let them have everything. It's the epitome, the quintessential. Privatize the profits, socialize the cost. It's the quintessential example of that concept of privatizing the cost, or privatizing the profits and socializing the cost. I got it backwards.
Hey y'all, it's Becky here from the Beckosphere, where we talk about all aspects of climate change and the clean energy transition. If those are topics that you care about, please consider hitting the subscribe button below and ringing the bell so you don't miss every single time I post. And if you are not new, hi, welcome back. Wow, I can't believe that it's been a month since my last recap. Actually, I can, because of how many climate newsletters went unread in my inbox. Just looking at that number gave me major paralysis, so I finally took a deep breath and let them go. I just made them all read. And then I got to work on this climate recap, so here we are. Let's go back to talking about California. California is being hit by atmospheric rivers again, which are long highways of moisture that really look like rivers, or like Rue's tail when he's super energetic, and they smack all around the state. According to the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration, or NOAA, a strong atmospheric river can transport an amount of water vapor that is roughly equivalent to 7.5 to 15 times the average flow of liquid water at the mouth of the Mississippi River. Normally, atmospheric rivers account for 30 to 50% of the state's wet season, but this year has been ridiculous. While there haven't been any attribution studies for these river events, 1 degree Fahrenheit of warming can cause the air to hold 7% more moisture, and we've warmed the planet about 2 degrees Fahrenheit so far. This time, these rivers are coming from Hawaii and are warmer than the ones that we got in January, which killed 24 people. A dozen more died in the overwhelming snowpack last month.
Yeah. I mean, I know that I'm sure they're going to probably do these attribution studies, but I mean, if you just use a little deductive reasoning here, I think that you can reach a reasonable hypothesis or educated guess.
Speaking of, higher elevation areas like the Sierra Nevada foothills are seeing their record snowpacks get topped off. Millions of people are under flooding or evacuation orders, and Governor Newsom put us back under a state of emergency. While this rain has helped fill up our depleted reservoirs, California's groundwater is still depleted because rules around water and rain capture are slow to adjust for additional capture during these events. Concrete and dead soil keep the water from soaking in, so it just floods an area, causing landslides, and flows out into the ocean. Ironically, agricultural production, which is the biggest user of the water, is being flooded right now, so we'll probably see some economic impact of that in future reports. If you also live in California, let me know in the comment section below how you've been weathering these storms. And if you live in the Northeast right now, I hope that you are staying safe and warm during the blizzard over there. In other extreme weather events, let's look at Africa's southern tip. Cyclone Freddy killed over 500 people in Malawi, Mozambique, Madagascar, and Reunion through initial impact and resulting flooding and landslides. That death toll is unfortunately expected to rise. What's wild is I actually first read about this storm striking the island nations after forming off of Australia in early February. And that's because Freddy intensified a record 7 times to make 2 landfalls. It might be the longest recorded storm on record, and a UN expert panel has convened to determine if it beats Hurricane John's 31-day record set in 1994. Freddy has also had the highest ever recorded accumulated cyclone energy, or ACE, on Earth's recorded history. ACE is a measurement of how much energy a cyclone has released over time. Put another way, Freddy recorded more energy through its relatively short lifetime than an annual US hurricane season combined.
Wow.
That's insane. Scientists have little doubt that they will find climate change's fingerprints in this storm because climate change increases how much moisture air can hold, heats up the water below, and raises sea levels to increase landfall impact. Research shows that climate change makes hurricanes more intense and higher category storms more common. It also causes storms to have higher wind speeds and last over land longer. What's sad is that all of these countries that got hit have contributed very little to climate change themselves. Malawi declared a state of emergency
and a 14-day national mourning period.
And Amnesty International has called for the international community to help with aid and resources. The aid there is actually already strained because cholera, a waterborne illness, was already on the rise in the area before that storm. My thoughts go out to the people in those countries impacted.
Okay, I think after that we need a fun fact about Rue. So as I said earlier, I've been
Nice. This is what I'm here for. California is a big part of the U.S. economy. It is.
spending time at the grandparents', and Rue has too. It's always fun to have a change of pace. Rue loves the grandparents' house because it has this big open space where you can look at the birds, and they have a lot of bird feeders there. So Rue has been thoroughly enjoying himself recently, and that is a fun fact about Rue.
Now, today's executive order also directs the Secretary of the Interior to stop issuing new oil and gas leases on public lands and in offshore waters wherever possible.
True.
Well,
that's the proper and only valid response to that. I mean, like, it's so infuriating because, like, at the crossroads that we're at right now, approving more fossil fuel projects that will lock in decades of emissions is, quite frankly, irresponsible. It is ludicrous at this point in time. I mean, the data is there. The science is there. There's no excuse. There's no excuse right now. You can't feign ignorance here at this point in time to be approving new fossil fuel projects. It is ridiculous.
Biden has done it. He broke his promise to the environmental voting base by approving a huge oil drilling project on federal land, the Willow Project in Alaska's North Slope. Let's review what that project is and what it means for the U.S.'s climate ambitions. The $8 billion project will be one of the largest of its kind on U.S. soil. It involves the fossil fuel giant ConocoPhillips extracting just under 600 million barrels of oil from Alaska's wilderness over the next 30 years. That's equivalent to the potential emissions of 70 new coal-fired power plants, or twice as many emissions as all of the U.S. renewable projects are expected to avoid in 2030. This project is considered a carbon bomb because it will emit at least 1 billion tons of CO2 throughout its lifetime.
Yeah,
and if my calculations
30 years, 3 decades.
are correct, that means that the project will go on past 2050's net zero target. So that sounds like a smart investment. To add to all
Like, think about it. That fossil fuel project will be pumping out emissions for the majority of the rest of my lifetime. Yeah. A huge chunk of it, I should say.
of this, in order to drill in that area, ConocoPhillips might have to refreeze the Arctic permafrost to create a stable ground for its equipment. Because, you know, the place is melting from burning the products that they're drilling for. The project will also displace already threatened species like polar bears and hurt important food sources for the local indigenous population like caribou. The area scheduled to be developed is actually the birthing ground for 60,000 caribou. Alaska's governor says the project will generate 2,500 jobs and millions of dollars in revenue for her state. To be fair, Alaska's economy is heavily reliant on fossil fuel production, which has dropped in the region over the last several decades. That being said, fishing and crabbing are also very important revenue streams, and both of them are being decimated by climate change. But some Alaska Native tribal organizations, including the Inupiaq community of
Hey, Echo Wrestle Dragon, how's it going?
The Arctic Slope and the Alaska Federation of Natives have supported the project, which was initially approved by the Trump administration before getting blocked by the Biden administration due to a lack of environmental assessment. Now an environmental assessment has been done, and it narrowed the project from having 5 sites to 3. But many environmentalists and indigenous people are still furious about this project and that it was given the okay at all. This was still one of the few cases where Biden didn't need to be sued to give up land to oil drilling. He tried to justify this decision by limiting how many sites ConocoPhillips can pursue in the Arctic, and his Interior Department said no other parts of the Arctic will be auctioned off. Though it's hard to trust the government on this because Biden ran on not allowing any new fossil fuel projects on federal lands, or as a social outreach coordinator at the Sovereign Inupiat for a Living Arctic group.
It's not only just the fact that it's not only just the fact that the Biden administration seriously dropped the ball, but they did it on purpose because the company, in order for the project to even be viable, the company needed exactly 3 of the 5 sites needed to be approved. And lo and behold, coincidentally, 3 sites were approved. They did exactly what the company wanted. In fact, I think it was Kyle Kulinski. I forget who made this segment. I'm pretty sure it was Kyle Kulinski who pointed that out. Effectively, the corporation went to the government and said, "This is what's happening," and so it did. So it's not just that he broke the promise, but it's damn, dude, really? You just essentially proved to anybody who is watching that corporations are the ones that are really running this show.
Told The Guardian, quote, "The Biden administration's approval makes it clear that its call for climate action and protection of biodiversity is talk, not action. The only reasonable solution to the climate emergency is to deny new fossil fuel projects like Willow. Our fight has been long, and also it has only begun. We will continue to
call for a stop
to Willow because the lives of local people and future generations depend on it." Over 3 million letters have been sent to the White House opposing the project, and a Change.org petition to stop the project gained over 3 million signatures. Hashtag Stop Willow even trended on TikTok, Twitter, and other social media platforms, but none of that seemed to work. Lawsuits against...
Yeah, because they don't respond to people. They responded to the wishes of the company. They didn't respond to the wishes of the people. That's the problem here. That's the problem. The indigenous people there didn't want this shit. A lot of people don't want this shit. We are at the point where we can't really, quite frankly, afford this shit. And they know this. The Biden administration absolutely knows this. They have the data. They know that we can't really be doing this at this point in time.
Against the project are already starting to crop up. A coalition of environmental groups, including the Living Arctic group mentioned before, the Sierra Club, and Environment America, filed a legal challenge through the district court for the District of Alaska against the Bureau of Land Management, or BLM, which conducted the project's environmental assessment. There are several main reasons why they're suing the BLM. The first is that they're accusing the BLM of failing to properly follow requirements under the National Environmental Policy Act to consider alternatives that would lessen the impact of the project. That includes not taking climate change seriously enough. Second, they're accusing BLM of failing to consider the project's impact on lands used for subsistence by Alaska Natives. And third, they're accusing the
President Biden the administration should not have approved the Willow project. Yes, they should not have approved it at all. They should not have approved it. They should have they should have told them to get fucked. I mean, to put it as bluntly as possible, they should have told him to pound sand. And like, if they wanted to like threaten some fucking legal action, then the Biden administration should have just responded by saying, you know what? You're right. So we're only gonna approve one site, not make it viable for you, and yeah, good luck.
The Fish and Wildlife Service of failing to properly consider the project's potential impacts on endangered species like polar bears. A second lawsuit by Earth Justice is also on its way. I think it's also important to remember that fossil fuel companies are already sitting on 23 million acres of federal land around the country. They're not even developing on half of that land, according to the BLM itself. So, does giving them more land really make sense? This is where I pass the story off to you all. What do you think of the Willow Project and the lawsuits being filed to counter it? Let me know down in the comment section below. And to add insult to injury, the Bureau of Ocean Energy Management, or BOEM, recently slashed the Gulf of Mexico's first offshore wind project size by more than 2/3 to give more room to fossil fuels, shipping, and fishing operations. Last October, BOEM, I will say it that way every time, BOEM, released an outline of the project that would have taken up almost 700,000 acres. Now it's down to just about 200,000. That's the difference between powering 3 million homes and powering 1.3 million homes with consistent clean energy. 102,000 acres will be located south of Lake Charles, while the rest will be off of Galveston, Texas. Despite this reduction, energy companies like RWE remain optimistic about developing wind farms on the Gulf. One of the many cool things about offshore wind is that the same workforce that has been trained on offshore oil operations have many of the same skills required for offshore wind operations. So these new projects will help pick up workers who are struggling to find jobs in the fossil fuel sector because there's just less jobs in that sector. And as a reminder, President Biden set out a goal of producing 30 gigawatts of offshore wind by 2030.
And once again, where were the regulators who were supposed to prevent this? Once again, we don't know. What we can say tonight is that SVB, like the scammers at FTX, had quite the public relations department. We may be a bank, but we've got the soul of an NGO. We care.
What?
We're saving the world.
You okay? You okay, buddy? Is everything all right? Will the Willow Project lawsuits cause any action? Honestly, probably not, to be honest.
To prove it, there's a whole page on SVB's website about their plans to, quote, monitor and reduce our own carbon emissions. Yes. Because you want a bank that cares about carbon emissions.
Yes.
Now coming out that
yes. Yes, you do. You want like every single aspect of how our economy runs needs to be the perspective needs to be shifted. So yes, Tucker.
They were one of the most woke banks in their quest for the ESG type policy.
True, dude. Wokeness, dude. Like honestly, the word woke means jack shit. Holy shit. Oh my god. Yeah, dude. Woke means when you made a comment about trying to be more environmentally sustainable. True. Sure.
Trend. And there are consequences for bad Democrat policy, and I think we need to keep it out.
True, dude. True, dude. The Democrat policies that drove SVB. Yeah, true, dude. True. The Democrat Party was absolutely at the head of decisions by this bank. True. It wasn't greed. It wasn't attempting to overplay their hand. It wasn't their willingness to gamble and failed. No. It was insert as many buzzwords as you can possibly fit. Woke, Democrat Party, whatever, dude.
Right now.
So that's actually not why the Silicon Valley Bank collapsed, though the aftermath of the biggest bank crash since 2008 does hurt the climate movement in some capacity. Let's talk about it, starting with a brief summary on what actually happened. A venture capitalist fund called the Founders Fund advised its companies to pull out of SVB, ironically over concerns of the bank's stability. The Founders Fund, financial advice, and other
They overplayed their hand. That's what happened.
Following it was why the bank run happened. The reason why SVB wasn't holding enough cash to survive the run, though, is thanks to a law Trump signed in 2018 that made it so medium-sized banks that hold anywhere from $50 billion to $250 billion didn't have to hold up to as heavy regulatory scrutiny, which allowed them to invest more of their money than recommended by government agencies to stay safe from bank runs. Both Democrats and Republicans signed that bill at the time. Now, this is of course not to absolve SVB of responsibility in all this, because they didn't account enough for the rising interest rates and chose to invest that much money instead of keeping a reasonable liquid cash level.
Yeah, it's called greed. Okay, they overplayed their hand. Venture capitalists are the best example of the Dunning-Kruger effect there is. True.
And the difference between this and the 2008 scenario is that taxpayers weren't forced to recoup losses by the bankers. Instead, the Federal Deposit Insurance Corporation, or FDIC, took over SVB and promised to pay customers savings, though it will take some time. As it turns out, SVB is known for giving startup money to community solar projects and startups that are working on carbon capture and electrification technologies, as well as sustainability products. In fact, here's a quote from the chief executive at Arcadia, which is the largest community solar manager in the country. Quote, Silicon Valley Bank was in many ways a climate bank. When you have a majority of the market banking through one institution, there's going to be a lot of collateral damage. Community solar are smaller scale solar projects that usually serve lower income residences. There's actually one near me that I opted to get energy from when I lived in my apartment. It's a great way for people to gain access to the cheapness of solar energy, even if they don't have the money for rooftop solar or access to the roof itself. SVB led or participated in financing 62% of U.S. community solar projects, which make up about 5.6 gigawatts on the grid. It had 1,550 customers from the climate technology and sustainability sectors, which it invested $28 billion in last year. It also financed about $375 million in residential solar, which does not include community solar operations, between 2020 and 2022. These are all projects that, if they get big enough, can benefit from provisions in the recently passed Inflation Reduction Act. But they need to get large enough in the amount of time the IRA is functioning to benefit. So the SVB collapsing hurts the financial supply chains of these valuable startups and operations. Now, some startups did catch the run while it was happening and pulled out their money, but others weren't so lucky. Like the sustainable...
Yeah, so all that tells me is, like, essentially what that tells me is that, like, damn, why are we relying on, like, such a fragile system? Why are we leaving this important critical thing to in private hands? This makes no sense. This actually is a perfect argument as to why we should have the government take over energy projects. But why are we even in this situation to begin with?
Period startup Flex, whose founder halved her personal savings to be able to pay her 30 employees' wages after the SVB collapse. Meanwhile, Shelf Engine, a startup that uses AI to help grocery stores reduce food waste.
Mayhem Hippie, how's it going? Not just political backlash, but also investor and plan participant backlash, as people don't want to see their money invested in progressive impulses. What does that even mean? What does that even mean? Hello, person who has racked up quite a rap sheet. Jesus Christ.
Couldn't wire its money from SVB to a new account fast enough and could suddenly not access tens of millions of dollars. It'll still take valuable time for these startups to catch up, and it'll be interesting to see if they end up all going towards one other group or splitting among.
Correct. Investors want a return on investment, period. Yeah, they don't give a shit what the project is. It's whether or not line goes up. That's it. You're right. Prison micros. I don't know. Did Trump get arrested yet? No, probably not. We probably won't have new information on that front. Until next week. We probably won't have any new information until next week. The juries are scheduled or set to meet Mondays and Wednesdays, from what I understand. So maybe Monday we'll have more information. If not, Wednesday. Who knows? They did not call the jury today. They are on standby for tomorrow. Oh, they might meet tomorrow? Really? I'm confused. I might actually be completely wrong then. I could have sworn I read that they only convene on Monday and Wednesday for this case. Well, I don't know. Oh god. Be honest, I might be wrong. I might have misinterpreted how that works.
Amongst themselves. Do you know any climate or sustainability
Prison
related
Mike.
startups that got caught
Thank
in
you
this
for the
mess?
follow.
Let me know in the comment section below. In other climate finance news, Canada's financial agency, the OSFI, released guidelines for mandatory rules the country's largest banks must follow to reduce their climate impacts. The rules will be phased in over the next 2 years and are meant to help the banks manage risk associated with extreme weather events and climate change lawsuits. They will be required to
Occupy
disclose their
Democrats on
financial
Twitter has
risks
info.
and
I don't know. It's the Occupy Dems is such a cringy account. It's annoying.
greenhouse gas emissions associated with their portfolios. The main caveat of these new rules is that they only expect the financial institutions to look at losses they'd face in the event of a 1.5 degrees Celsius warming. And we're currently projected to reach 2.7 degrees Celsius of warming, which is a big difference in losses. In other financial news, 3 NGOs are suing the multinational bank PNB Paribas for allegedly breaching a 2017 French law.
I'm gonna be honest. I'm just gonna wait for I'm just gonna wait and see until whatever happens. We'll report on it when it happens.
That requires big companies to identify and cut environmental risk. This is because PNB still finances fossil fuel projects, which means that it doesn't align itself with the Paris Agreement. And the Bank of England announced plans to cut spending on climate change work to focus on its stability and controlling inflation. That climate change work includes creating ESG disclosure guidelines, preparing insurers for climate risks, and getting banks to look at their portfolio's greenhouse gas emissions. Let's just ignore how climate change impacts inflation, I suppose. All 3 of these financial stories are in the source list, with other stories I did not have time to get to. And that was your climate recap for the first part of this week. I have so much.
I mean, I suspect that based on that amount of hundreds of emails, there should be another climate recap. Trump will stretch out for years if it helps him. Nah, I don't know what he could fight it, but he's not really. It's not really up to him if a grand jury convenes and says, yeah, you should indict him, and votes to indict him. Then, yeah, he has no control over that. If that happens tomorrow, then so be it. If it happens next week, then so be it.
I actually split the recap script into 2 videos, so look forward to one very soon. I'd say that this happens when I missed a month of news, but honestly, most of these stories are from just this week. So, shows you how much climate news is out there. If you want to help me better cover all this news, please consider joining my Patreon for as little as $3 a month. Consider it an investment in a climate-friendly startup. Remember
Trump
to
doesn't
talk
have
about the
years
climate
to
crisis
live.
every single day
True.
and to support your local news organizations. Thank you so much to the people on Patreon who
All right, cool. All right, folks, do the thing. Alio with the 10 biddies. Thank you so much. I appreciate that. The spamming of links will continue until morale improves. Speaking of which, I just saw this that came up on my Twitter feed. This just came up on my Twitter feed. Base of PJ, I think, yeah, this is Base of PJ, by the way. If you guys haven't checked out his channel, you should. There's some good memes. Bombshell report, Manhattan DA. Alvin Bragg hit hundreds of pages. Hundreds of exculpatory evidence from the grand jury in the case built against Trump. Yeah, his job is to... So first of all, his job is to present evidence as to why you should indict somebody. And Base of PJ, of course, provided a beautiful response. Do you know anything about politics in Turkey? No. This is a good meme. And criminal law exculpatory evidence is evidence such as statements tending to excuse, justify, or... Oh, yeah, no, but that's the defense's job, isn't it? If you're presenting evidence to a grand jury, it's because you're trying to present evidence to be like, hey, here's my case as to why this should move forward. Does that make sense? When you're presenting it to a grand jury. And I believe Trump's defense would then say, no, this is bullshit because of X, Y, and Z. And then the jury has to determine that, right? The prosecution can't hide evidence from the defense in a regular trial anyways. Okay, yeah, that would make sense. I don't know if that's applicable here when they're trying to present their case to a grand jury. But even so, like, there's no evidence of the DA doing any of this. Grand juries are weird and awful, not just if it applies here. Oh, not sure. Gotcha. Not sure if it applies here. The defense does not have to prove anything. But isn't the defense like when you're trying to present like the... I don't know. Listen, I'm playing armchair fucking lawyer. So actually, I don't know if the defense is going to present. I don't know if like Trump is going to present his side to the grand jury. But to my understanding, it's the only reason you have like these hearings is for the prosecution to make their case as to whether or not this is even going to move forward, right? Like that's the whole point. But Trump would be the defendant, so if this type of evidence that he hid from the grand jury, wouldn't that be bad? I think that in a normal trial, yeah, you can't do that, obviously. But I don't know how this works here. And again, we don't have any evidence to back this claim up anyways, which is why Base of PJ made this meme. The prosecutor runs the grand jury proceeding. The grand jury considers evidence presented by a prosecutor to determine whether there's probably cause to charge. Right. So it's actually the prosecutor who has to present the best case as to why this should move forward. The grand jury performs an investigative role too and can request evidence from the prosecutor. If the grand jury requested it and it was withheld, that would be problematic. Yeah, of course. So that's a different story. That's a different claim than like, yeah, this dude hit hundreds of pages of whatever. Anyways, that's not this. This is not. Sorry, whatever, Cayesto. This is not gonna save your daddy. Correct. The DAs or prosecutors have to prove evidence of a crime. It's been years since I looked into how grand juries work when they put Chelsea Manning in jail for not cooperating against Assange. It seems like Fox are the only ones running this story. No. It's not a valid source. I'm making fun of it. I'm making fun of it. So just to be clear, sorry for the misunderstanding. I'm making fun of it. We have this woman called Posey Parker. What? Okay. Good luck? No. This is why Base of PJ responded with, here's his source. Oh, Posey Parker is the turf who's hanging with Nazis. Oh, yikes. Yikes. Oh, she got kicked out of Australia? Oh, okay, gotcha. Yikes. Well, I'm sorry to hear that then. For a while, confused her with Parker Posey, an actress who starred in every indie film in the 90s. New York District Attorney Alvin Bragg could eye various charges in Trump prosecution. Our government is letting her in. Sorry to hear that. Yikes. Rauscher, how's it going? Oh, this is a Florida person. This guy pays for Twitter, doesn't he? Yep. Retweeting accounts like Trump's nephew. Shilling for Mike Pillow. Yeah. Anywho. I think we get the gist. What are you guys talking about? So I'm up to pace. Well, we just finished the climate recap on all the climate change news. And now some people are bringing up the whole Trump indictment thing. Russell Brand is a 25-minute on Trump's charges? No way. Oh, God. I try to avoid this guy. I really do. You would do you would do that to Carlos? Yeah, exactly. I love how like the thumbnail of my YouTube stream is the fucking crack pipe. I love it. This is the thumbnail to my YouTube stream now. Nice.
Hello.
Ah, Jesus. Trump is going to jail. They lied. My God, these fucking thumbnails and these fucking channel descriptions. I mean, video descriptions. Until Trump is in handcuffs, who cares? Yeah, exactly. Like the only thing that we can say is that it's more and more likely, and that's it. It looks like they're definitely preparing themselves for something. I mean, it would be incredibly weird. It would be incredibly weird to not have like all these like security measures and all this other stuff for nothing. He won't ever be in handcuffs. Maybe found guilty, but they won't let the press see it. I don't know. I think that I think that will come out.
I hope the people doing these arrests have the moral authority to undertake these arrests and aren't basically criminals themselves.
Wait, what? Oh God. Jesus Christ. This is 12 seconds in and I'm already triggered. All right, folks, I don't think I can do this. I'm sorry. I don't think I can do this. Let's just rewind that 12 seconds for
Trump is going to be arrested. Putin is going to be arrested. I hope the people doing these arrests have the moral authority to undertake these arrests and aren't...
I hope the people that do these arrests have the moral authority... What the fuck are you talking about? Bro, you think that the people who are going to take custody of the... assuming that all this goes through, you think that the people that are going to take custody of Trump have a moral authority? Like, no, dude. This was a process that played out in the legal system that said, hey, I have enough evidence that this dude did this crime. What do we do? And the grand jury says, all right, your evidence is sufficient. Go forward with the indictment. And that's it. That's the next step. Or the grand jury can convene and say, no, you know what? There isn't enough evidence to even go forward with this. Moral authority. Shut the fuck up. Out of here. Fucking clown logic. I think if his delivery was different, I could listen. But like, what delivery method would be different that would make you like more amenable to that? Like, I don't understand. Like, it's very simple. Dude did crime. There's evidence of said crime. It was enough to convene a grand jury. So, if it was enough to convene a grand jury, now it's on the prosecution's part. It doesn't matter what moral authority they have or not. They have to present facts, evidence. And if that is not enough, the grand jury will be like, you know what? Nah. I don't know what moral authority these other Monopoly players think they have to charge me for landing on their property. The biggest problem out of time is that basically everyone can blurt out whatever they want and gain popularity. I hate these things not being based on facts. Yeah, well, here we are. I prefer Biden to Trump. Yeah, I mean, I prefer literally anything is preferable to fascism. Yeah. Another hour of unsolicited overtime. Boo. I'm glad you're here, though. Oh, God.
Basically, criminals themselves.
And wait, criminals themselves? What do you... What are you talking about? Is the DA, is the New York District Attorney a criminal? Is that what the implication is? What?
Hello there, you 6.3 million Awakening Wonders. Thanks for joining us on this voyage towards truth and freedom. I hope you feel my love. You know...
Truth and you opened up in the first 12 seconds, like, with a massive amounts of bullshit. I've never seen so much bullshit in 12 seconds in my entire fucking life. This is unfucking believable.
I need your love. We have to remain connected.
Also not a cult, remember.
We have to remain moral, ethical, and spiritual.
You are neither of these things because you're actively you're making conscious decisions to bullshit people. So don't talk to me about morals or ethics.
Throughout this experience.
No, let's watch it a third time. No, please. Listen, I have we're all guilty of something, therefore we can't credibly judge others. Yeah, I guess. I don't know what that means. Another thing that annoys me is, for example, sexual assault allegations that pop up on Twitter but somehow resolve as untrue. Everyone starts to hate on one being accused no matter what the other person says. I mean, fake sexual assault. Oh, that's Brand's point. Gotcha. Oh, okay. I was like, what? Wait, I was like, oh no. I'm so confused. I mean, there have been scenarios where sexual allegations were not true. That is a thing that has happened. I'm not sure what that has to do with what we're talking about.
It's knowing what we confront a centralized authority, knowing that our success means that attacks will come. Stay awake, stay connected. If you haven't turned on the notification bell yet.
Yeah, dude, when I get criticized, oh man, I love it. I love it. Listen, when inevitably I'm criticized for being for like, you know, peddling all this bullshit, just know that it means that we're under attack because we're saying the truth, okay?
Turn it on right now. Subscribe to our channel. It's lovely to see that number increasing, and it's the one way we can ensure that you get our videos every single day. Let's get into today's story. Donald Trump has announced that he's going to be arrested. First he said it would definitely be on Tuesday, then he said it might not be on Tuesday, and the ICC have issued a warrant to arrest Vladimir Putin.
Again, wait. What does this have to do with Vladimir Putin? This has nothing to do with Putin. Why are we putting these situations side by side as if they're somehow comparable? In my opinion, it's good that there's an arrest for Putin. I mean, yeah, sure. The issue is, like, how is this related to the Trump situation? I don't understand. You got to think like a hog. What am I missing here? They're both like autocratic daddies. Is that what it is? Is that what it is? They're both like autocratic daddies. So we have Russell Brand here is trying to tell us that they're like comparable. I don't know.
In two leaders that have previously been in that situation are the Sudanese leader, who's in all sorts of tricky situations currently, and Colonel Gaddafi, who's now stone dead. The important question, of course...
What does this have to do with any of this?
Who has the moral authority to exact and enact these arrests?
The fucking law. All right, that's it. I'm done. The law. The law. That's it. The law. If you do... If you do a crime and you get caught doing said crime, and then enough evidence is presented that says you did such crime, enough to convene a grand jury, and then that grand jury makes the decision to indict you, what the fuck are you talking about? Anyways, I'm done. I can't do this. I can't do this. I think you give people too much credit. Oh God. Yeah, Gish, this was literally like nothing. On what moral authority on what moral authority is like the possible indictment of Trump on the moral authority that in section code of whatever the fuck the law says, if you make improper financial or campaign contributions, or you move money from campaigns in a shady way and you get caught, that's illegal. That's the moral authority. Gobbledygook, exactly. Anyways, I can't do this. I can't do this. I'm gonna turn it off before I get like Omega triggered by the amount of bullshit that I just saw in a minute and 12 seconds. Folks, we couldn't even get through a minute and 12 seconds of the video. Okay. Anyways. Cody has a new video slamming cars for 45 minutes. Like Cody Shody? Alright, folks, let's talk about this. Russell invokes all those world leaders to insinuate a grand conspiracy. Oh, I see. Okay. Gotcha. Oh yeah, there it is. Do cities really need all these cars? No. I'll shorthand all this. No. You try. You think that's terrible? Try Glenn Beck. Yeah, but like the thing is, like, what really triggers me is that like Russell Brand tries to present himself as like some kind of like intellectual, and some kind of like honest, like, oh, I'm just a anti-establishment. Nah, bro, fuck off. Gotcha. Maybe if we watch the rest of the 24 minutes, maybe we could arrive at whatever conspiracy Russell is trying to kind of trying to make in his own mind. Stay amped and watch my channel, otherwise you'll die, Russell Brand.
Some people.
Here, I'll post a link for anyone that was curious as to some more news video. All right. Also, P.S. Send me money. Correct. All right, folks. Arkansas restricts school bathroom use by transgender people. Arkansas Governor Huckabee Sanders signed the law prohibiting trans people at public schools from using the restroom that matches their gender identity. Like, I don't understand. Like, what is this? What is this going to? What is this meant to accomplish? Other than like, tell us your other than like to show us your bigotry. Like, what problem exactly are we solving here? Like, I don't know, man. Maybe it's a bit of projection. How like these people like are so weird about bathrooms. Do these people like go around like peeking at everybody in the bathroom? Is that what this is about? Like, is that like the projection? Is that what's being projected on the rest of us? Is like these people like have like this weird idea about like checking people that go to the bathroom, and like this is for public schools. Do they want to check children? Is that what this is? Because that's kind of gross. And I'd like to speak to the FBI if that's the case. Like, were you gonna have people like standing at the bathroom checking kids? Is that what this is about? Yeah, feeding their perversion, exactly. Russell is just your average rich, famous, super successful, popular anti-establishment guy. Exactly. Exactly. Because, like, that's kind of creepy. They think it's a zero-sum game. If society recognizes trans people, cis people will be excluded, eliminated, or whatever. Yeah, like, that doesn't make any sense to me. Like, why would you think that, like, cisgender people would be excluded? No, dude. Like, me recognizing a trans person, me recognizing a trans person's identity does not invalidate my own. I don't understand. Leave people the fuck alone. Jesus Christ. The first of several states to enact such bans this year amid a flood of bills nationwide targeting the trans community. The bill signed by a Republican governor makes Arkansas the fourth place state to place such restrictions at public schools, and it becomes as bills in Idaho and Iowa also await the governor's signature. It might be followed by an even stricter Arkansas bill criminalizing trans adults using public restrooms that match their gender identity. Oh yeah, rack your brains around this one. How exactly do you plan to enforce this? Okay, and what problem exactly is this solving? First of all, these are like you're literally essentially what you're trying to do is like is to basically criminalize trans people. That seems to be like the end goal here. Because what the fuck like is this even about? Are you gonna have a police officer? You know, again, this is a party of small government, right? You're gonna have a police officer checking everybody's genitals. Because let me tell you, if that's what you're proposing, because I don't know how else we would even be enforcing such a thing. You're gonna have somebody like checking everybody's genitals? That's kind of strange. Why would you want that? They're just taking an issue they can make into a soundbite and weaponizing it for the greater goal of eliminating transgenderism. Yeah, I mean, like, Michael Knowles kind of told us, right? Michael Knowles was very explicit about this. Yes. Arkansas law, which won't take effect until later this summer, applies to multi-person restrooms and locker in public schools and charter schools serving pre-kindergarten through 12th grade. The majority of Republican legislator gave final approval to So what? You want to have, like, adults checking children's so what you're saying is you want adults to start checking children's genitals, especially like in multi-person restroom and locker. So you're gonna like what, line everyone up and be like, yep, genital check everybody, because that's kind of creepy. Like, how would you even like what exactly are you trying to accomplish here? You know what they say. Every accusation is just a confession. Well, it's not a stark view. It's exactly what they would like to do. Maple. It's not a stark view. It's Michael Knowles. It's very explicit. Imagine they could put the head girl on the boys' bathroom entrance. Yeah, I mean, like, how would they enforce this? Like, so they just want to go around checking people's genitals? It's kind of weird. It's kind of creepy. Gross. And now you want to put that in schools? Sounds to me like you just want to touch kids. Yikes. The governor said that she will sign laws focusing on protecting and educating our kids. Like, from what? What are you protecting here? What are you protecting? Like, how would you even know if a person in the stall next to you is trans or not? Bro, I'm coming here to use the bathroom. That's what creeps me out about this whole thing. They want to be like so intrusive that they like literally want to be in the bathroom stall with you. That's what it feels like. These people are creeps. I can't even go to the bathroom without the government's permission or the government telling me that I'm supposed to use like X or Y. Jesus Christ. The governor said that she will sign laws that focus on protecting and educating children. Ah, yes. Bathroom laws, known for protecting children from what? Educating children from what? I'm not understanding. What part of the bathroom bill here is focusing on protecting and educating kids? Not indoctrinating them. By that they mean not indoctrinating them. By that they mean we need to indoctrinate them, not anything. Not anything else. And believe our schools are no place for radical left woke's agenda. Radical left. Damn, Jesus Christ, with these fucking buzzwords. The radical left Marxist, the Democrat Party, adrenochrome, like I don't know, whatever. Alexa Henning, Sanders spokesperson, said in a statement, Arkansas isn't going to rewrite the rules of biology to please a handful of far-left advocates. What are you talking about? What are you talking about? Yeah, every home in America uses has unisex bathrooms, exactly. Like, I don't have a bathroom in my house that has, like, a separate thing for guys or girls. It doesn't matter. Again, it's incredibly creepy and intrusive. And quite frankly, when I go to the bathroom, like when I go to the public restroom, my immediate thought is, I'm going to use the bathroom. Not, I wonder what the person next to me it looks like. Bro, really? I wonder if the person next to me identifies with the gender that this... what? Some trans people should form a religion so they can do things like the Satanic Temple and start clubs in schools with the fundamentalists trying to start Christian clubs. There you go. Yeah. There you go. What is it? Malicious use of the law? Malicious compliance? The donut shop across the street from me has unisex bathrooms. Damn, Maple. Make sure that you contact your local authorities so that they can stand by and check everybody's genitals. To make sure. So weird and creepy. Where is this thought process coming from? Similar laws have been enacted in Alabama, Oklahoma, and Tennessee, though lawsuits have been filed challenging the Oklahoma and Tennessee restrictions. Proposals to restrict trans people from using restroom of their choice has been a resurgence this year, 6 years after North Carolina repealed its bathroom law in the wake of widespread protests and boycotts. Oh, that's right, in Canada. Gotcha. More than 24 bathroom bills have been filed in 17 states, according to the Human Rights Campaign. They're signaling out trans people for no reason other than dislike, disapproval, and misunderstanding of who transgender youth are. Yeah, I mean, like, again, this has no purpose to, like, other than this. Makes no damn sense. Said Paul Castillo, senior counsel and students' rights strategist for Lambda Legal, and the entire school population suffers as a result of these type of bills, particularly school and teacher administrators who are dealing with real problems and need to focus on creating a welcoming environment for every student. The proposals are among a record number of bills filed to restrict the rights of trans people by limiting or banning gender-affirming care for minors, banning trans girls from school sports, and restricting drag shows. Trans people, like, yeah, and this is, like, also incredibly, like, bigoted to think that, like, trans people are the same as drag? No? Yeah, cruelty is the purpose, yep. Trans people have also faced increasingly hostile rhetoric at state houses. That's an understatement. Another bill pending in Arkansas goes even further than the North Carolina law by imposing criminal penalties. The proposal would allow someone to be charged with misdemeanor sexual indecency with a child if they use a public restroom, or changing room of the opposite sex when a minor is present. How would, like... So, what about cis people that doesn't apply to cis people? Why? Are you insinuating that just because they're trans, they're automatically, like, to be charged with indecency? So basically you're saying that trans people by default are, like, predatory? Why? That's kind of a red flag. That's a massive red flag. Trans people are not mind-bending superhumans bent on cisgender genocide. Yeah, I know. Like, these people, the fact that, like, they're specifically saying that, like, trans people need to be charged with sexual indecency, like, you know what that is, right? That's, like, a roundabout way of circumventing, like, essentially what they're saying is, like, yeah, dude, we want to, like, round up and arrest the trans people and, like, paint them as, like, pedophiles or whatever, because it has to be in the presence of a minor. So we want to, like, you know, drum up that trope. Yeah, this is disgusting. The fact that these Republicans, like, are enacting this type of legislation is a massive red flag. They're trying to enact this type of legislation yeah, this is Nazi shit. This is Nazi shit. Saying that, like, you should criminalize, essentially you're criminalizing just being. That's a massive red flag. That is some alarming shit. The flagrant message, it's a flagrant message from them that they refuse to respect trans people's rights and humanity. It goes, we're past that, folks. We're past that. Yikes. To respect Arkansas's right and humanities, Holly Dixon, executive director of the ACLU of Arkansas. The new Arkansas law requires schools to provide reasonable accommodations, including single-person restrooms. Superintendent, principals, and teachers who violate the prohibition could be fined at least $1,000 from a state panel, and parents could also file a private lawsuit to enforce that measure. Like, yeah, just make it all unisex then. There you go. Every child in our school has a right to privacy and feel safe and comfortable in the bathroom that they need to go to. And what makes you think that they wouldn't? What makes you think that they wouldn't be comfortable? Like, again, do you think that, like, people are looking at the stall next to them? It's just so bizarre that this is your, like, thought process here. But Clayton Crockett, the father of a trans child, described to lawmakers this year a similar policy adopted at his daughter's school made her feel further marginalized. She feels targeted and feels discriminated against. She feels bullied and singled out. Yeah, because that's the point. Opponents have complained the legislation doesn't provide funding for schools that may need to build single-person restrooms to provide reasonable accommodations. At least 2 federal appeals have upheld trans students' rights to use a bathroom corresponding with their gender identity. Supporters, however, have cited a federal appeals ruling similar at the Florida School District last year. Arkansas measure won't take until 90 days after the legislature adjourns. I mean, like, this is all nonsense. This is all nonsense. Just leave people alone. Jesus Christ. Sanders signed the bill after a week. She approved the legislation making it easier to sue providers of gender-affirming care to minors. That law, which doesn't take effect until summer, is an effort to effectively reinstate a ban on such care for minors that's been blocked by a federal judge. Sanders earlier this month also signed a wide-ranging education bill that prohibits classroom instruction on gender identity and sexual orientation before the 5th grade. The restriction is similar to Florida's measure critics have called Don't Say Gay law. Yeah, so like you don't want people to know that these people exist. Gotcha. You effectively want to eliminate them in every way possible. You don't want them to like be comfortable using bathrooms. You don't want them you don't want their existence to be like even acknowledged or even learned or even mentioned. You want to criminalize them using something so simple as a fucking bathroom. Yeah, this is stacking up red flag on top of red flag. Very frightening indeed. Are not all babies born of God's children, born in the image of God? Then who the F are they to deny God's creations? I would like someone to say this during a legislative session. Yeah, of course, but you know that's the thing about Christianity. They have all kinds of like mental gymnastics to kind of like bounce around, because like it's all, again, the problem with all like this religious zealotry is the problem with religion period is that and I believe, you know, people in chat have pointed out, is that you are taught, you're conditioned to accept things on the basis of no evidence. They want kids to think that there's something wrong with them. Correct. I just think it would be a good viral video too. True. Ableism, I mean, what do you mean by that? She was one of Alabama's last abortion doctors, and they came for everything that she had. Let's talk about this story. Dr. Leah Torres doesn't tell people what she does or when she meets them, which makes it hard to make friends. She removes her name from every piece of trash before she puts it out of recycling in case people walk past, see her name, and find out where she lives. If a package addressed to her arrives on her porch, she calls everyone she knows to identify who sent it before she opens it, because it could be a bomb. Yeah. Cool. Pro-life, huh? Once coming back from work in the piercing August Alabama sun, she noticed a gray sedan parked in her driveway. Instinctively, she fled to a neighbor's house. She barely knew him, but asked if she could walk her home. Anyways, the car turned out to be a stranger, but the driver had pulled over to send a text message. Still, you never know, said Torres. She's not paranoid. Torres is an abortion doctor in the state of Alabama, where abortion is now illegal except in life-threatening situations, which... yeah. She's one of the many doctors increasingly targeted by lawmakers, protesters, domestic terrorists, and conservative news outlets and social media, even more now that abortion is no longer even more so now that abortion is no longer legal in the U.S., in much of the U.S. People hate Torres. They filmed her outside of her place of work, posted videos of her online. They approach her and sometimes knowing her first name, her car, and what time she gets to work in the morning, while she knows nothing about them. Yeah, but I think that, like, ableism is to do with, like, disabilities mostly. Not necessarily with, like, the whole, like, not necessarily the same as, like, the trans community, because I think that's more of just, like, you being like bigoted or xenophobic would be like the all-encompassing term. Ableism is like ableism is more specific. Ableism is like, I mean, I could be wrong, but it's mostly, to my understanding, being ableist is more geared towards like people with disabilities, could be people with physical disabilities, mental disabilities. That is what I understand as ableism. When we first met at West Alabama's Women's Center in Tuscaloosa, where she works, an anonymous person had just sent her a card with a mirror inside. It reads, "She's a 10 but needs to find a new job." It's tame in comparison to what some who have worked at the clinic received in the mail. The former owner was sent anthrax. Jesus Christ. Torres has long been in the public eye as a proud, loud abortion provider, is well known on social media. She has made many enemies. But since the state of Alabama took her medical license away, dragging her through a $115,000 legal battle, and that put her out of work for 7 months, fear follows her around like a stranger ready to snatch her in the night. It was 11 a.m. on Thursday when two men presented themselves in the lounge of West Alabama Women's Center asking to see the clinic's doctor. Torres led the two men down the hall to one of the offices. Inside, the air was stuffy and the windows carpeted by heavy 1940s draped that all denial of sun, a helpful privacy feature. The men revealed themselves to be investigators sent by the state. When solemnly informed Torres of her predicament, she was being stripped of her license to practice medicine, pending an investigation by the Alabama Board of Medical Examiners. Can you imagine? Jesus Christ. Yeah, neurodivergent, SV Harkin, correct. Like, if you're being, like, discriminatory against, like, a neurodivergent person, then you would be doing an ableism. Torres was being accused of fraud. Scott Sides, one of the investigators, informed her that she had made an error in her application for a medical license. The hearing was set for December 21st of 2020, 4 months in the future, when she would be able to argue her case. But until then, she couldn't practice as a doctor. That's too far out, said the first note. She said the first note of panic registering in her otherwise calm demeanor. For my livelihood, she clarified, a more deep set in tone. Investigator Sides sounded gentle, even apologetic, as he informed her that she would have to complain through an attorney if she wanted the hearing to move closer. Torres noticed Sides' hand, a soft-skinned, sunburned bureaucrat's hand, were shaking as she handed the papers to sign. The whole process struck Torres as strange. She had read about doctors accused of sex offenses in her state who had not been suspended before an investigation confirmed their guilt. I think they knew he knew what he was doing was wrong. The officer left, but not before taking Torres' physical license with them. Anyways, the point is that they used this bullshit pretense to intimidate and stop her from performing her job because of this ridiculous conservative dogma, essentially. The professional managerial class think they're safe, but no one is safe. Nope, because they don't give a shit. You know, like, you think that just because, like, you're in that PMC class that you've got, like, a buffer? Nah. Sides informed the clinic that no patients were to be seen until a covering physician was hired to replace Torres. the clinic's only doctor unless her license was reinstated. And so began Torres' battle with the state and the clinic's fight for survival. The West Alabama Women's Center, a fubsy brick building bedecked with brown leather armchairs and dark oak cabinets, was until relatively recently the busiest abortion clinic in all of Alabama. A 2-hour drive from Alabama's border with Mississippi, its geographic position made it a safe haven for residents traveling from that state, which only had one clinic serving its childbearing age population of about 600,000 since 2018. I assumed most of the patients would be students from universities, seeing as it's a university town, said Wendy Rawlings, who volunteered as an escort at the clinic between 2017 and 2020, but they weren't. Historically, most of the clinic's patients have been black and low income. Many were mothers unable to take on the financial burden of a new baby. Most people who have had an abortion already had children. Less often, they were teenagers who didn't want drastically change their life's course to become a parent. Yeah, so TLDR, a lot of effort has been made to effectively deny medical care. Essentially checkmating one of the last abortion doctors by using the power of the state. Cruelty is the point. All right, folks. It is about that time. I mean, we kind of already knew. That this was going to happen because nothing happened earlier today. So we don't really need to go over that. If anything happens in next week, we'll definitely be covering that. All right, folks, it is time. We're heading out. Thank you guys so much for hanging out today. We'll be here Monday through Thursday. Although tomorrow we'll see. If not, worst case scenario, we'll be back on Monday. Worst case scenario. This weekend, we might attempt to relaunch the weekend streams. We've effectively neglected the weekend streams that we used to do on Sundays. So we'll see. But I will make an announcement on Discord. So we might try to kickstart that again. We haven't done it in a while. So I'll try to make an announcement maybe tomorrow. Stream will be tentative. We will see. And of course, next week we'll definitely be paying attention to this whole possible indictment. Yeah, it's Sunday. Saturday. It's not Saturday. It'd be Sunday Fun Day, I guess. We'll make sure to have the kitty cats back. If we can make it happen, I'll definitely post a link. Make a post on the Discord. Make a post on the Twitter, and go from there. All right, folks. I've got to get going. I appreciate you guys hanging out. Thank you all for the support. Thank you for the follows. Thank you for the biddies, the subs, and all that. You guys are what makes this channel grow. We're here Monday to Thursday, 5 p.m. Eastern Time. If you guys want to support the channel and you can't do it monetarily, hit the follow button. It really does help us out. Or if you want to go even further beyond, you can just hit the big red subscribe button on YouTube. It really does help us out. Spread the word far and wide. Bring a friend, as always. Please stay safe. Please take care of each other. I love you all, and I hope to see you guys in the next one. Tomorrow, maybe weekend, maybe Monday. I'll make an announcement on the Discord. See ya! Thank you, Cosmic Seeking. I appreciate it. Thank you, Holy Seeking. SV Harkin, thank you. Thank you, Alio. Thank you, the Simulacra, Maple Leaf Dragon, Hambulis. Thank you all for hanging out. Appreciate it. All right, folks, we're heading out in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. See ya.